So let's start with the questions. The first one comes from Anandi. So for those of you who haven't done this with us before, I read the question and Sat Shree comments. So, dear Sat Shree and Satyamai, I have lately had 2 occasions where the old ego structure, who do you think you are, have come forward. I have met the structure as an energy in my body before, but now it feels like there is a new layer of it to pierce through. One of the occasions was at my work. I emailed my colleagues the other day a kind of success story about a client I have. I was so touched as the client had emailed me a draft of a great book that she has written. This person has a very tough life situation right now, and when I heard she liked to write, I encouraged her to do so. So I was deeply moved to have received her draft of a new book. In the email to my colleagues, I wrote that I didn't want to brag and say how good I am and so on. I just wanted to share my genuine happiness over the progress from my client. When I wrote this, I could feel how I made myself small. Of course, one of my colleagues wrote back to me that I don't have to tone myself down. I have the right to paint with the large brushstrokes, and she loved to hear my story. When I read her reply, I could feel an enormous energy in my upper body. It felt like a pressure over my chest, strong energy around my heart and pressure in the diaphragm. I sat with the energy, and something told me to direct the energy to the lower chakras, but it was not possible. It stopped around my diaphragm. I felt I couldn't pierce through the veil. It was as if I was judging myself for toning myself down, and there was a sadness for not being over this type of behavior.
All right, well, Anandi, thank you for sharing your piece, your story. I don't think it's that unfamiliar with someone who has a natural exuberant nature, and that many children end up experiencing squashed when they're with parents who aren't in the same frequency of your natural exuberance. I know I have a dog that has this nature.
Okay. You're bringing the dog into this?
Yeah. Because what do you do with it, right? You respond to it, you ignore it, you indulge it, and you get all kinds of things out of that. So it is in the domain of the programming of our personality. And, you know, as a child, I'm sure I know your nature. You're very exuberant, and exuberance is positive, and it's a good thing and a wonderful thing. And a positive, vital ego is actually a great aid on the spiritual path and a great aid as we come into life, because we can begin to come into life with that enthusiasm and with that inspiration or whatever that may be as a human being and make a mark, fulfill our individual karma in a positive way. So there's no wrong in that, and your fellow employee's response was perfectly appropriate. I mean, I think that's what happened, however, happened in the domain of the programming of your human vital, because you got permission. You got the permission you didn't get when you were a kid to share your exuberance, and it was true, and that person could respond to it. What's likely to have happened, you didn't hear from other people. Maybe they just felt jealous or angry or think it was your ego coming forward and bragging, or who knows. No matter what you tell people, what they're going to do with whatever you share, they're going to do with that. And that's the nature of this domain. If you're looking for happiness or confirmation outside of yourself, it will always be tenuous. You will please some people all the time and all the people some of the time, but never all the people all the time. And the part of us that's still vested in what other people think of us, or unwittingly just wants to share, to kind of expand and enjoy the experience that has come to you, you're going to have, mixed reviews. No matter what the goodwill. So the reason it's not going down is because this seeking to share this wonderful thing is a compensation for the diminishment of your ego from your past, of being that way in the past. So it's like, antennas up, early warning signs, you're setting yourself up to be defeated. And that's where the diaphragm wouldn't let it go down, because it's still protecting what is there underneath it. That still doubts herself, still questions herself, is not able to be in affinity with the world as you're feeling to, because it's not able to respond to you in a way that you can recognize or would want. So, what is useful is to meet that blockage in the diaphragm as it's expanded exuberance and confirmation. It's basically, you're okay, you're good, you did great, right? We all love that. Well, maybe you did so good, or maybe you shouldn't have shared it. That feeds the other side, right? This is the nature of the vital. It's this way or it's that way. And we get to go on that teeter-totter. The only time we get off the teeter-totter is when we find the midpoint. It doesn't change. And then it's rotating and you're noticing it coming and going. That does help give us a place to stand with the part of us that's still a compensating structure. As we expand, the other side of this, Anandi, is that when you spiritually awaken and your being is coming forward, you tend to bring to life qualities around you. Your quality of your attention tends to be more positive and it tends to be more engaged, but you take what's come to you and you project it on your clients. You project it on the flowers, you project it on the blue sky, you project it on the fierce storm, and you assign value to it beyond what it is. You unwittingly make it more important than it is. This is the nature. So there's this kind of how wonderful at the level of your being, not just your ego, that came up. But it got overtaken by the structure in you from your childhood. And that's how it works on the spiritual path. We get our consciousness shifts, our relationship with life becomes more immediate, more on, brighter and stronger, everything, knowing, seeing, experiencing gets enhanced, and the tendency is to do what ego does, projects that energy out. And this is good and wonderful. It means that you're preparing your system to be a channel for what comes through your being into existence. And usually people will respond to that just by the brightness of your being, that their being will sense. But the error would be to expect others to respond equally or to recognize that what's going on with them may be very different than where you are. So I noticed this in my journey, because for me, when the truth comes forward, I'm here, I have no say, it just comes through. But you may not be anywhere in the vicinity. Even when I work with you one-on-one, I may be talking from here, but you're still here. And maybe some part of you can lift up, but what I may be seeing will not be what is actually happening for you from the state of merger with your ego or the perspective you're used to in your spiritual development. So this is pervasive. It is why most teachings say, just sit there and be radiant presence, right? Keep yourself out of trouble. Don't expect anything. Don't let the ego come in and lay claim. But it doesn't serve you. And it will keep you stuck in whatever that particular merger on the spiritual path you've come to. You have to go into the world where your ego would come in and show itself. Because there's parts of your ego that are actually aligned with the manifestation of what you're coming to as a being, as a merged creature in relationship with God and with the truth. So, this is just what happens. It's a good thing. And as we grow stronger in our awakening, the authority and the density of our reactivities and our adaptions and our fears and our woundings and our programming grows weaker and weaker. And we have less investment in what's going on around us because we're full. We feel complete. We feel satiated. We don't need anything from anyone else. All right. There you have it. Anandi.
Thanks, Anandi.
Thank you.